What is the relationship between sound and reality? For millennia, it's been a question for philosophers and spiritualists. But what if it were a question for physicists? What if an object, unearthed from a quiet field in South America, could prove that vibration isn't just a property of matter, but a language it understands? In March of this year, a discovery was made in Colombia. A discovery that has shaken the foundations of science and forced us to ask, are we alone in our understanding of the universe, or are we just beginners in a conversation that started long before us? This is the story of the Buga sphere, the object that shouldn't exist and the ancient secret it awoke to. The story begins not in a laboratory, but in an open field on the outskirts of Buga, Colombia. A local farmer, starting his day, stumbled upon something that didn't belong. In the center of his pasture was a perfectly circular patch of scorched earth. The grass was gone, the soil brittle and sterile, as if something had drawn the very life out of it. And in its center lay a metallic sphere. It was about the size of a football, its surface perfectly smooth and seamless, glistening with an otherworldly sheen under the pale dawn light. There were no bolts, no welds, no visible point of origin. It wasn't wreckage, it was pristine. Local authorities were called, and the object was carefully transported to a nearby university. For the first few days, it was a local curiosity. Researchers assumed it was a piece of a fallen satellite or an experimental drone. But the moment their instruments got close, that assumption evaporated. The object, soon nicknamed the Buga sphere, began to reveal properties that bordered on impossible. First, it emitted a constant low-frequency vibration, barely audible but powerful enough to interfere with sensitive electronics. Then came the temperature anomaly. The sphere's surface remained consistently cooler than the surrounding air, as if it was actively defying the laws of thermodynamics. It was losing around 100 watts of thermal energy per hour, but with no visible power source and no exhaust. It was a perfect, silent heat sink. Its material composition was even more baffling. X-ray diffraction showed no recognizable alloy structure. The metals didn't precisely match anything on the periodic table, their atomic lattices displaying irregularities consistent with formation under immense pressures, conditions found inside a star or created by technology far beyond our own. Attempts to take a sample failed. Diamond-tipped drills couldn't scratch it. High-powered lasers couldn't breach it. The sphere was, for all intents and purposes, indestructible. Soon, the National Autonomous University of Mexico, UNAM, one of Latin America's premier research institutions, took over the investigation. Under the direction of physicist Dr. Carlos Muñoz, the team uncovered even stranger behaviors. The object seemed to manipulate its own mass. In controlled motion studies, it exhibited an 81% reduction in inertia, at one point rolling uphill on a gently inclined plane without any external force. Engineers described its movement as non-ballistic, as if it were sliding through the very fabric of space rather than interacting with a surface. High-resolution imaging revealed its internal architecture, 3 nested shells of differing metallic compositions separated by an unknown insulating material. At its very heart was a crystalline nucleus that pulsed with a faint, organic-looking pattern. Dr. Muñoz described it as an engineering language that doesn't belong to our era. As word of the Buga sphere leaked, online forums erupted. Alien probe, quantum battery, ancient artifact. But even the staunchest skeptics fell silent when independent labs confirmed the findings: mass fluctuations, unexplained energy emissions, and a constant low-level magnetic hum. One engineer remarked that the microscopic expansions and contractions it made every few seconds were like breathing. We weren't just studying an object, we were observing a system.
What no one knew was that the greatest anomaly was yet to be discovered. It started by accident. During a calibration sequence, a graduate student was speaking near the active sensors. For a split second, the instruments registered a faint, rhythmic pulse from within the sphere's core. The moment he stopped, the signal vanished. It was almost dismissed as interference, but one researcher, intrigued by the pattern, decided to follow the thread. The team began introducing controlled sounds into the sphere's isolated chamber: musical pitches, white noise, recordings of various languages. Each time, the sphere responded with subtle but measurable electromagnetic fluctuations. It was listening. But the responses were faint, almost random. The key was missing. Then a student specializing in harmonic frequency theories proposed something the others considered poetic at best and pseudoscience at worst. What if they tried Sanskrit? The ancient language, known for its precise phonetic resonance, is believed by some acousticians to possess a unique vibrational symmetry. It was a long shot, a desperate leap from physics into mythology. With all other avenues yielding little, they agreed to the test. The experiment was conducted under strict isolation. The lab was silent, save for a recording of the Gayatri Mantra, one of the oldest and most revered chants in history, played through a low-frequency transducer. For the first minute, nothing. The sphere remained inert. The baseline readings were flat. The skeptics in the room began to relax. Then, as the chant deepened into its second verse, the monitors flickered. Electromagnetic readings spiked, surging to levels they had never seen before. A faint, ethereal shimmer appeared across the sphere's surface, a soft blue luminescence that pulsed in perfect harmony with the cadence of the mantra. Researchers froze. Equipment recorded what their minds refused to accept. The pulses weren't just rhythmic, they matched the exact harmonic intervals of the Sanskrit syllables. It wasn't an echo of sound, it was an echo of energy. When the audio stopped, the glow faded and the energy readings collapsed back to baseline. They ran the test again and again. The result was the same. Western music, modern languages, even pure digital sine waves matching the frequencies. Nothing. The sphere remained dormant. But the moment the ancient chant returned, it awoke. Dr. Munoz summarized it in his notes. It seems to recognize the geometry of vibration, not the meaning of words. On the morning of a live-streamed demonstration for a select group of international scientists, the experiment was repeated under the most stringent conditions. As the Gayatri Mantra began, a deep hum filled the room. A vibration felt more in the bones than in the ears. The sphere began to glow again, its blue light pulsing with the chant. But this time, it was different. The electromagnetic field expanded, causing lights in the lab to flicker and monitors to glitch. The sphere's temperature plummeted several degrees in seconds. And then, the instruments detected the impossible. For a brief span of 47 seconds, the Buga emitted a structured energy signature that resembled a low-frequency gravitational wave, a phenomenon that should require the mass of a collapsing star. The playback was stopped immediately. The silence in the room was absolute. The team had captured a physical object responding in a measurable, intelligent pattern to a human language thousands of years old. The Buga had turned ancient belief into hard data. In the aftermath, the footage went viral. The Buga became a global obsession. The university, overwhelmed, suspended all experiments and placed the lab under lockdown. But the anomalies continued. The sphere's weight, initially 22 pounds, had increased to nearly 25. Theorists proposed it was converting the resonant energy of the chants into mass, a concept straight out of science fiction. Environmental sensors around the lab detected rising levels of ionization, mirroring the sterile ground where it was first found. But the most chilling discovery was made when a researcher reviewed the final energy spectrogram. The pattern emitted by the sphere during the experiment perfectly mirrored the geometric structure of the Sri Yantra, an ancient Hindu symbol representing the unity of the cosmos, a symbol no one had programmed and no one had expected. Weeks have passed. The Bugosphere now sits in a sealed chamber, monitored by a handful of specialists. The official story is that it remains under study, but sources from inside the project whisper the most unsettling fact of all: the sphere no longer needs the chants. In total silence, it now emits a faint, rhythmic pulse on its own. The pattern is weak, but unmistakable. It is mathematically identical to the harmonic structure of the Gayatri mantra. It didn't just react to the sound. It learned it, it remembered it, and now it is continuing the chant by itself. We are left with a mystery that redefines reality. Is the Bugosphere a probe from another civilization? A relic of a long-lost human history that understood physics in a way we have forgotten? Or is it a bridge, a tool designed to show us that consciousness, sound, and matter are deeply, fundamentally connected? Somewhere in a sealed room in Colombia, a metallic sphere hums with a silent song older than history. It has listened to us, and now it is speaking back in a language of pure vibration. The question is no longer what it is, but what it is trying to say. What is your theory about the Bugosphere? A message, a warning, or something else entirely? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching.